I think the less we talk about the death of bin Laden, the better. I mean, he's dead, he's gone, he's in Davy Jones' locker. So that chapter's over.
Bob Kerrey speaks with the confidence of a man who's seen it all, and that's because he has.
It's an understandable impulse to want to celebrate, because this guy he is number one demon in all of our minds over the past 10 years. And that he's dead and gone produces an understandable desire to want to celebrate and chant USA, USA. But we have to be careful, because we're watched by the rest of the world.
As a former Navy SEAL, U.S. Senator, presidential candidate, and 9/11 commissioner, Bob Kerrey has a unique perspective on what we should do now that Osama bin Laden is dead.
The more we worry about succession planning in Egypt and succession planning in Tunisia and what's going on in Syria and what's going on in Morocco and what's going on right now in Libya, the more we worry about that, the better off we're going to be. And say that we're on the side of people that prefer to be free.
Kerrey is proud of his fellow sailors, the elite Navy SEAL Team 6, that flew into Pakistan.
They've gotten 10 years of experience in Afghanistan and what it would be 7 years experience in Iraq and elsewhere, training in urban warfare. How do you get inside of a building? How do you train to be able to do that?
But he's quick to point out that it's not that easy.
It's a batting average, sort of. You know, if you do 1,000 operations and you get 500 of them that succeed, that's a pretty good batting average. So, everybody wants to parent this one because it succeeded. Had it failed, that was Leon Panetta's operation. That thing had gone south. So, sometimes they succeed and sometimes they don't. This was very high profile, high risk, with a high payoff, and they hit the ball out of the park, and I'm proud of them.
And what about Pakistan, who President Obama said has been an ally in the war on terror?
We get bin Laden not in a cave, but in a compound right out in the open in a town that has substantial Pakistani military investment. And it provokes the question, how in God's name didn't you know? If he'd have killed 3,000 of your people in Islamabad, my guess is you'd have been able to ID that compound in about 30 days. And now you're complaining we didn't inform you before. It's clear that had we informed you, this operation probably would not have succeeded.
Kerrey believes that the success of the operation makes an argument against America's presence in Afghanistan.
You don't have to occupy a country in order to go after terrorists inside of that country. In some ways, it may make it worse. I think for me personally, I think it does make the case. We may want to stay in Afghanistan in order to help the Afghan people defeat Taliban, but to link that up and say that's the most successful way to fight terrorism, I think it's harder to make it after this example.
As Americans learned that the United States had carried out an operation that resulted in the capture and death of Osama bin Laden,
Finally, how much credit should the president get for catching public enemy number one?
I think it's going to play very well for the president, particularly if he makes the case. This is a continuation of an effort, not something that started in January 2009. Having competent people on the job and executing based upon competency, Obama can take a lot of credit for it. Look, if bin Laden had done something bad while he was president, everybody would blame him. And on his watch, we got the number one leader of al-Qaeda. So he can take a lot of credit. I would just urge him to give credit to lots of people who are involved in this thing other than himself, particularly before he became president.